Leadership is a topic that is taught, but is mostly experienced on the field.
I always say the reason I left those is because the organization I was in didn't match my ambition. They told me, no, this space is saturated, there's too many lifestyle titles, that's a bad idea. But then I looked at it and I thought, well, they're not doing digital. Anything can go viral, that's the beauty of it, isn't it?
Welcome to the Self-Made Show. My name is Fabio Gallerani. I'm your host, and today I have the honor to host one of the legends of the media in the Middle East, Richard Fitzgerald. Richard, welcome to the Self-Made Show.
Thank you for having me on, Fabio. Good to be here.
It's a pleasure for me to have you on the show. And of course, you have an extended experience in media. You're basically one of the GOAT of the region. I can say that. Do you agree?
I still have a way to go, yeah.
Yeah, but you're a long time in the region. You created one of the biggest and best brands online in social media, which is Lovin Dubai, Lovin Abu Dhabi, Lovin basically all the beautiful cities of this region. The first question I always ask is why you started this journey and your journey from nothing to everything. Where did it started? I mean, you are surely a self-made, and tell me the story. What happened?
Yeah, I like the theme of the podcast, especially related to the city and how you explain it, Fabio. Makes a lot of sense. I guess my story could be linked to that. I arrived here, like most people, on a career. I was working in London. I'm from Ireland, and I took a job as head of social media for a network agency group. And I did that across the region for a few years. But I came, as someone almost 30 from London without any savings, without any investments and I set this business up 10 years ago after 3 years here. And alhamdulillah, we've been able to grow. We're in 11 out of 22 Arabic-speaking Arab League countries. We have 110 employees. We're growing every year. We have 7 fixed abodes offices.
Wow.
And, the Lovin brand, the Smashy brand, the media outlets. We're doing local news across the region. We're doing vertical news. We're doing podcast networks, apps, streaming services, social network content. We work with a lot of clients, thousands. We've kind of almost invented a branded content unit that works really well across our platforms. And I guess, I've been able to sort of steer that business from an initial investment, initial franchise to not yet listing, but basically on that trajectory. We'll do $15 million gross revenue this year. And we're 10 years in, as I said, and, I've been able to sort of grow up as first a MD and self-employed to, a CEO who is navigating not only the region, but also the ever-changing, fragmenting, evolving digital media space globally, I guess.
That's beautiful. I mean, what interested me the most in this brief story you shared is the step you took from being an employee, successful employee, to take the leap and be a self-made entrepreneur. Why did you choose to do that? And what happened in your identity that triggered that decision?
I don't see it as an identity change. I think I'm an employee. I'm just employ myself.
Okay.
And I always thought I was an entrepreneur when I was in a large organization.
Right.
I was building small business units. I was given freedom. I was doing P&L. I was growing all the time. But I did feel restless a bit that I could achieve more when I was in organizations. And I always say the reason I left any job, I think I was in 5 or 6 agencies across the 3 countries I lived in a work capacity. And I always say the reason I left those is because the organization I was in didn't match my ambition. I probably would have stayed if they matched my ambition, if they gave me more responsibility, more titles, if they steered towards where I saw media going. And essentially, it was about environment and fit. I felt I could do more. And even when I asked advice around a large media agency in 2015 about setting up Lovin Dubai, they told me, no, that it's saturated. This space is saturated. There's too many lifestyle titles. That's a bad idea. But then I looked at it and I thought, well, they're not doing digital. They were publishing 10 articles a week on their website, and we started in September 2015, and we did 10 a day. So we just blasted the digital space, and we did it in a different style. It wasn't just a volume game; it was a more native, a more the headlines, the language we use is how we speak to one another. It's no longer a newspaper. Yes, in some respects, Lovin Dubai is a tabloid, but we don't phrase things like traditional attention-grabbing news desk stands would. We phrase things like people would share. Why would they share? Why would they care? Why would they engage? So we very much saw social media as the way to distribute media these days. And so to answer the question, there was an identity shift in a way I didn't expect. I had to become an editor, even though I can't spell and I didn't study journalism, but I was known as Rich from Lovin Dubai for a year or two because I needed to get credibility for that environment.
Yeah.
And I did adopt that persona for a while as an editor of a newly launched media outlet. But I was only adopting that briefly. I saw myself as an operator, as a media business operator.
That's beautiful. I mean, you said something very interesting because normally people that are ambitious, they start in a career, and if the company allow you to grow, you stay. I mean, if that company allowed you to grow and they were keeping your pace, would you have stayed over there? So that's very interesting because in this show, we speak about a gene, like a fire that sparks inside of you, which is ambition, but is also something that gives you the certainty that you will make it anyway.
I could have run that company for them at senior level, and I could have done a lot at any company I was with. But at some point I thought I could do more, and some point I had time to learn. I remember when I was regional head of social media, one of the MDs told me, "You've got too much responsibility for your experience," and I found that insulting. But he was right. I did have things to learn. But yeah, I think a good environment, and I often think about that with nurturing new leaders and new talent from within our organization.
Beautiful.
That we have a responsibility, to nurture the talent and to bring them along at the right pace. But it works both ways. If someone is petulant or someone behaves in a certain way, then there's only so much nurturing you can do. This isn't a family. These aren't our children. There's only so much nurturing you can do. At some point, it's not worth it. And at some point, it's in both interests to part ways. So I don't have any sort of regrets or hold any negative feeling towards any entity I've been with.
Yeah.
I was very glad to work for 10 years and be employed and to earn a living and to earn a livelihood and to gain lots of experience. You come from Italy and, obviously a footballing nation, and, any good coach will pick bits from the 5 or 6 clubs they play with. So I think that's a lot of what I have evolved. I picked values from different places. I've picked coaching styles in terms of the workplace from different places. And now's my time to be a manager. And I'm trying to, win trophies.
Beautiful, beautiful. I mean, I'm a CEO too. And they always say we are chief engagement officers. So we need to keep people engaged, but also allow them to grow. So from your experience being an employee, not have been given, the chance to blossom, and then you created your own company, of course, achieving success because you felt that power in you. How are you approaching leadership with your employees right now? How do you spot a talent and how do you let him grow without, just spoiling him, like making the talent feel entitled of, certain level of promotion? How do you approach leadership in your company?
Anyone who contributes to the direction of the business is a talent.
Yeah.
There are, sometimes it's easy to say who are the stars and who are the pure talents. But actually, everyone has got skills and talents. So all our 110 employees are needed. Some of them have different motivations. Some of them have different skill sets. Some of them have different capacities to adopt and to learn and to evolve. And that's fine, but they're all, one of our values is ingenuity, and we value everyone the same. There's a bit of genius in everyone. So it is that equity piece. So, I could, to answer your question, Fabio, straight away, I can think of 2 or 3 people who fit the bill of super talent and rising stars and most valuable players or employees. But I catch myself when I do that, and I say that's not right, because they can contribute to a degree, but also the quiet left back who's clearing the ball out, who's never going to ask for a pay rise, who's never going to be a captain, who's never going to evolve as the best player of the year or whatever, the best employee, but they're going to be consistent. And in a work environment, you need that. We're not asking for people to go above and beyond for the company. If they commit to their labor law working contract and they show up and they're part of the organization and they contribute positively, that's all we can ask for. So we do have values, and we do have employee manuals, and we do have biannual reviews and bonuses and ESOPs, and we have ways to nurture, motivate, and inspire as a benchmark, and we're fair to everyone. So if someone asks for a loan for some reason, we say no, unless we don't want to set precedent for everyone else. We don't create extra incentives for one person or another. However, we do communicate to people in different ways, and we do nurture people in different ways. And if I have a rising star who's been a bit impatient, I will take extra time to pick up that phone and to call that person. And if I see them spiraling or going a direction where I think they need a little bit of coaching, I'll take their time to do that. But more so, I will try and allow their line managers, if they don't direct report to me, I will advise them to do the same. If their line managers don't do that and we lose someone, then that's the cost of business.
Yeah, of course.
And that's the way it is. But, there are times where I've seen people complain to me about their subordinates, and partially they're right, but I need them to grow. I need the people who report to me to grow. So I can't step in every time, and I can't coach every employee. And that will be a case we will lose some people. Yeah. But again, it's not that just the line manager's fault or the person's fault. It's both of their fault, and it's our system fault that the system that failed. But you can't harbor over it. It's part of the. It's like a lost sale. It's part of the situation. It's like a lost customer in a coffee shop.
It's a lesson learned.
Yes,
right?
it is what it is. And so, yes, I don't dwell over it. Yes, I could motivate and coach everyone, but what's the opportunity cost at that level? We have 7 P&Ls now, inshallah more, but I want MDs in each market. I want to scale and rate and grow the business.
Yeah.
So people always tell me, oh, your culture doesn't work in this offices, or this and this and this. And I always tell them it does, by empowering you to adopt a different style of leadership and for you to learn and for all of us to learn.
Beautiful answer. I mean, we will go into media because you have for sure some beautiful insights for all the self-made people out there, even if they're not in media. What you just shared is leadership. Leadership is a topic that is taught, but is mostly experienced on the field. So about the culture, we named our company All Inners. And with that, I created the avatar, which is an all-inner. An all-inner is a person that doesn't have a plan B, has leadership at the second level, like exponential. So I'm just paraphrasing, all the letters of the word all-inner. So plan A, the A. Leadership, LL. If you multiply the 2L, what happened? L second. That's square, yeah. And then there are, other values. About your culture, if you can briefly explain how you build the culture and what the culture is about. Let's do a role play. I'm your new employee in Augustus Media. I work for you because I believe in your vision. How do you immerse me in your culture to make me align with you with the vision? What's your...
We're a commercial entity. Culture is more defined at an ethnic level or a national identity, a personal identity level, than at a capitalism or a corporate level. We have values. and we have behavior types under those values.
Yeah.
So we have 7 or 8 behavior types under what tenacity means. The harder you work today, the more you reward it tomorrow. Being tenacious, never give up.
Okay.
And we have behavior types under velocity, about momentum, about taking on different things at different times, and then also about ingenuity. And I talked about that earlier. And then challenging things in the interest of the business. However, first and foremost, it's a media company. If someone comes in and wants to be a journalist or a content creator or commercial sales, they can do that. Do they need to subscribe to a full new culture? Not necessarily. But then our culture evolves. So in each office that we're in, it might be a little bit flavor. If we our 50 employees in Egypt who are 90% Egyptian nationality, will have different culture than the Saudi company or our newly opened office in Pakistan, or what we have in Dubai, or even Abu Dhabi and Ras Al Khaimah offices are a little bit more local in culture, because there are Emirati nationals in those offices. So so basically, culture, yes, it's one word that leaders don't often want to define in a sentence. What we do is we have an induction and we show our values. But we also do talk about us being as a media company. Our mission is to become the modern media company choice in the Middle East and North Africa, to tell inspiring stories. So, like Disney is an entertainment company, but they create magic and they tell stories. So Augustus wants to tell inspiring stories. If we're in Baghdad, we want to tell who are the influencers there, who's the content creators there, who are the stories, what's the zeitgeist of the city that we're in. And the same with Smashy Business, with Smashy Sports, with all these things. And we're just doing it across text, audio, and video in the media way, Apart from that, there are things that we have a little bit of discipline about. And a lot of that is, the values are picked to make us successful in this environment, but we don't go, we don't overdo it. We don't say you have to be ethical, because as a human being, one should be ethical. We don't interfere with faith or other things that people might believe in. We don't talk about family, because we don't go too far with it. We try and create a belonging environment where people feel safe, and we protect our employees and we protect our team, and we try and we want them to grow to the capacity that they want to do. So in that respect, a culture forms, and it's a transparent culture. It's not the Netflix no rules. It's not radical transparency, but it's moderate transparency. Everyone's performance review is public, but their salaries aren't. Everyone has the ability to make decisions on expenses, on annual leave, but it's still capped. It's still regulated within labor law. So we have transparency in that. We think collaborative work environment works, and things like this. So a culture forms, but it needs constant guidance, protection, nurturing. Every month I have ways to communicate. Every month on the first of the month, I send an email and I communicate in that way. And if there's things that are flagged, I wait until that. I don't petulantly spot something and make a new rule. No, and also we have an employee manual, which is like our Netflix no rules. They have a famous kind of document, a book and also a document. But we have our employee manual, which is over 40 pages now, and it gets updated once a year. We don't update it in the middle of the year, but if we spot things in the year that needs a little bit of tightening up or a little bit of adjusting or clarification, we'll add these things in. And and even then, we want more and more people in the company to understand these things and explain these things. And when new people come, new words creep in, and that's a bit risky because it leads to lack of understanding. And some people challenge things for their own interests and not for the interests of the business. So it's just constant nurturing, constant guidance, and constant steering, I guess.
That's beautiful. I mean, you gave a masterclass on leadership and company culture in a few minutes. Because what you say very interesting is culture is invisible. Values are like the compass. So I can follow values, but you just said that you gave behavioral sentence, or we can say how do you call the behavioral? Like, for example,
Behavior types like
behavior types. Yeah. So you give behavior types so they can understand how to behave around the values, right?
Exactly.
And then you don't step in as a CEO, because if you step in and change something, people feel like you're not like you don't know where you're going, so you're just being dragged around. That's what you meant, right? That's beautiful. Let's shift the topic, because something very interesting is happening in Dubai, UAE in general, which I love. That's why you maybe branded Loving Dubai Love. Let's talk about that. But why you choose that name? Why Loving Dubai, or loving brand?
Yeah, look, I didn't. I was in an agency. I was head of social media. I didn't have a fresh idea.
Yeah.
I thought I wanted to set up a social media agency. A friend of mine set up Love in Dublin, like McDonald's. I'm loving it. LOVIN'. And I licensed it for 10 years, an area developer. 3 years later, he had sold out. And 2 years later, I bought it off the new
brand
entity. So I bought the brand. So, you know, for me, at the time when he set up Love in Dublin in 2012, and we set up Love in Dubai in 2015, he set it up at a time when blogs were growing. And blogs looked like websites or so. But everyone set up a blog. A new dad, a new mom, a new foodie, everyone set up a blog. And then blogging sort of disappeared, and now everyone set up an Instagram. Now everyone's setting up a podcast. What makes a podcast a media business? What made Love in Dubai a media business? How did we get credibility? How did the website not look like a blog? And it was in the name and the brand, as you pointed out, and it was our protection of that brand, but also our strive for credibility. We got extra licenses. We hired journalists. We bought out a newspaper here and merged their audience when the license shut down, 7 days, a tabloid newspaper. So Augustus Media wanted to be a media company, and we always strove to make Love in Dubai more than a blog. And that's why, we have podcasts, we have newsletters, we have social media, we will have a TV channel. We essentially have TV content, but we're launching a Love in Dubai FAST, free ad-supported streaming service on Samsung TV Plus and LG channels. So, we're in the streaming world with our Smashy streaming service. You can watch lots of local sports on this channel. So essentially, yes, the brand is there. And an interesting point about Love in Dubai is the name of a title. It could be like The Sun or New York Post, but it could be like The Sun in terms of The Sun. It sounds positive, sounds warm.
Positive.
But The Sun is a newspaper tabloid that has negative connotations.
Yeah.
So, but Love in Dubai could be positive, and someone could steer it in a negative way. We try and keep it. Yes, it is utility. Yes, it is news and information. But we try and keep, as they say, the name is on the tin. It is what we do. We're not impartial. We don't give both sides. We're pro Dubai. We're positive about Dubai. We want to be champions. We want to celebrate people here.
Yeah.
We want to tell stories of community stars, of young authors, of people winning medals. We want to tell stories and tell local champions. We don't want to defame. We don't want to tear down. We're not looking.
Yeah.
We don't want to do investigative journalism under Love in Dubai, and in this region particularly.
Especially, that's where I wanted to go, because I believe this region is blossoming for the way the news platform like yours are sharing positive information. We humans normally look for the negative side of things, just to complain and being a victim. Here, everything is positive. And even if it's not, like, for example, when there was the Tiger Tower, in flames. If we were in Europe, the news will be, this was not handled properly. The building was, maybe built with the raw material. But here was, okay, the government, fire, police arrived in time. We saved everybody. We win again. So do you think that approach is what is making Dubai the land of opportunity today? Since you are in the media, what do you think about the positivity, the love, and the support for the community, and the continuous positivity and projection in the future that is shared in this region? What do you think about that?
I think it's contagious. I think if you walk into a meeting, if we meet here. We're positive. We're looking to do business together. We're looking to grow together. I'm a supporter already of All Inners, of the Self-Made podcast. I want to see you succeed. And I think that's contagious. And that can be spread from the stories that you told. Equally, on the media side, the media landscape globally has been dictated by an amendment written on one constitution of one of over 200 countries 250 years ago, even though the printing press is, 600 years old or whatever, or media goes back even further. So, not to go deep on the history of media, but some people use a First Amendment in the US Constitution as a guideline for media, even though it's not meant for media. It's meant for a society of 52 states. And, sovereignty and entitles you to do other things, but entitles you to have your own constitution. And you can have your own view on media. And what I like about this region, what I like about building a media company here, is that the constitution for media is framed in a different way. And I think it's an interesting way to look at media. I think it's an interesting way to prevent toxicity. I think it's an interesting way to prevent defamation. It's an interesting way to not to tear people down when they're being successful.
Yeah.
Let them be successful. What's wrong with being successful? If someone wants to hold someone to account, the law is there for that. The courts are there for that. It's not the media's role to hold people to account, Having said that, yes, you can have a media lens. Yes, you can shape narratives. Yes, you can choose in which way to highlight certain things, of course. And that's welcomed. There is no ban on the printing press like there was on the Ottoman Empire. There's no ban on the internet here. As much as the Western world would like to say that there is, there isn't. And we are independent. We have a media license in Saudi Arabia, and we're the first foreign-owned company to have one since 2017. We have businesses across the region in media, and we're building. The media is quite new in this region, and we're building a media business in the region. And I think that's, I don't actually think, I was going to say I think the Western world will wake up to that, but I don't think they will. I think there's so many, journalists in the Western world who are fighting for the right things in their countries in terms of media, that using the narrative of this region is never going to serve what they want to achieve in their challenges. But I think, in a multipolar economy, a multipolar world where it's enough to serve this region, I think it suits companies and entities and media organizations who are focused here.
Beautiful. I mean, for sure. There is a concept called collective consciousness, which means that if in a region there is negativity, the people to belong to that society will need to adopt negativity in order to be accepted. I'm very interested on that topic because I always was interested on what makes people successful in a region, and in another region there is more difficulties. Is that tax system? No, is the environment, the energy in the air.
Dubai have just launched a new committee called Dubai Civility Committee. They put 8 of the top ministers and owners of entities onto this committee. And it was explained to me by the executive office that Dubai wants to be known for civility like Japan is known for morality or morals, in that they've studied the rise and fall of societies. They've studied why some cities are dirty or some cities have other things. And I think you're talking more about like positivity and success and tolerance for success. And they've studied all these things. And there is a reason that, there are factors. If you look in, and there's not much information online about it, but one of the things is discipline. One of the things is cleanliness. One of the things is positivity. So that civility message as a constitution or a direction really helps the media environment. It really helps us steer towards what we want to achieve. I had this other brand as well as Levin called Smashy, right? And Smashy, the tagline is for the driven, the dreamers, the doers. And yes, on one level, it's a streaming service, just like Shahid or Netflix or DAZN or whatever. But it's a media outlet. It's a content platform. And there is Smashy Crypto, Smashy Gaming, Smashy Style. And the bigger platforms right now are Smashy Business and Smashy sports. And in Smashy Business, there was a time where we had an investigative journalist who wanted to show companies, startups who failed, and would spend a long time digging deep on these stories. Yes, some of them we can learn from, but when it becomes the only way to do media, you miss the actual growth stories. So when we put different people onto this brand, and when we gave that direction, the platform has just rocketed. We have 20 million impressions a month. There's 50,000 subscribers of a newsletter, 5,000 downloads of a podcast, which goes out 5 days a week. It's a 40-minute episode. And we just we want to create heroes in this region. You know, we want to create our Bezoses, our Musks, our Gates, and these people in this region. It's not just us. It needs like capital markets rising. It needs lots of things. It needs people like you. It needs lots of things. It needs protagonists. It needs stories. And then now I'm trying to build this on the sports side. And some of the team keep wanting to hero the Premier League stars or the Serie A stars. And I keep steering it towards the Arab leagues, the Arab players, the people here. Because if we start now, we can create our own protagonists and our own heroes and build media stories around them. And that's what media needs to do.
Yeah, of course, because this is the first generation of pioneers in the region. I mean, especially expats. I have a daughter. She is the second generation. So like United States, when, you know, there were the expats going there was the American dream. Now there is, we can call it not just the Dubai dream, it's the MENA region dream. Because here everything is progress. So from a point of view of a media company like yours, what was if you have to give, I'm in the media business because I do a podcast which tells stories of self-made people. So what is the first advice you give to a show like this one? If you were me running this show and you want this to be heard, I'm not here to monetize it immediately or even later, because that's not my business. I'm in coaching. I'm in, we install systems that free entrepreneurs from their business, AI systems, etc. So that's another business I have. But if you were running this show, where would you take it? How would you share the self-made story of the people that arrive in your seat?
I would treat it like a business, even if you don't want to make money at the start. And I wouldn't treat it as a marketing tool for the other businesses.
Okay.
Because you'll never make margin. The cost of producing content, internet is a hungry beast. You need to keep feeding it. The margins will never be there. There are some companies who, in the US, there are some companies who use content as a funnel, as content marketing.
Yeah.
But you'll never really engage an audience if it's a marketing channel.
Of course.
It has to be a storytelling platform. And then, yes, that can engage an audience, but the margins won't work because to tell good stories, the unit economics of content in the digital space, you'll never be able to do that online. There are very, very few exceptions. And I wouldn't even say Red Bull are successful at this. Like, people will say they are. But I don't think Red Bull TV and media is successful. I think Red Bull sponsorship of the F1 and owning a team is successful. Yeah. Even though it only made a few million last year, but I think that's successful. I don't think the Red Bull TV is successful as a media business. So and even though they have large market share in energy drinks, so I don't think that content unit economics works for those other two businesses. But the advice for this would be to understand that media is both content and distribution, media and medium.
Distribution.
So the medium is where one consumes the media, whether it's YouTube or Spotify or wherever, or the cuts that you put on your Instagram or TikTok. That's the distribution.
Of course.
So as a media business, the all-inners and the self-made podcasts, you are in a good position because let's see what's happening in the US. The top 10 podcasts in the US, if you take out 4 of whom, say the Spotify or the Apple annual lists, 4 or 5 of them are crime, and then 6 or 7 of them are people-led. Either, I guess 4 are people-led, and then 2 or 3 are media companies. So, and in the US, they're debating about whether these people are left or right or whatever. But if we think of these people, like they design their studios, their partnerships as media businesses.
Yeah.
So you have to look at partnerships. We saw this week that Spotify have The Ringer and all their podcasts, and they put them on Netflix as a test pilot. You know, if I have a podcast and I'm a host of a podcast, who's my partnerships manager? OEMs and MNOs, original manufacturers, and mobile and telcos. And streaming services. Can I get this podcast as a deal with a streaming service? Because if I can get distribution,
game over.
yeah, it is, provided the content rises at the same time. Now you can outsource distribution as we do on social platforms, right? But if you ask me how many users globally are there on, say, TikTok, right? So TikTok, YouTube, and TikTok, YouTube, and Meta have a lot of users, right? So they might have 2 billion monthly active users. But then the lesser ones only have a few hundred million, okay? But if I think of an operating system, like if I think of a LG or Samsung or Hisense or Huawei, they've got operating systems that are downloaded 4 or 5 or 600 million times globally. They're in every car dashboard around the world. They're in every airline and hotel. One of those that I mentioned, they're in 50% of Marriott hotels around the world. You can, through partnerships or through your own tech, you can build an app that lives there.
Yeah.
And then you can pay for it to grow. So as a media business, if I'm a presenter and I've just had a 20, 30-year career, I'm launching my own show and I'm having a newsletter, I'm having a podcast, and I'm thinking about distribution, and I'm signing partnerships, because that's what media is today. And people talk about rebundling, but people talk about that mainstream media is dead. I disagree. There is mainstream media in the way that there's more media being consumed. The numbers are more. It's just not mainstream media as we knew it. But mainstream media always evolved as we knew it. At one point, it was one TV channel, then more, one magazine, then more. Media has always fragmented. It's always slipped away and ciphered up. But you can still be mainstream as online. You can have a mainstream audience online, So I would treat it, every podcast creator, I would say I want to be number one in my category.
Number one.
Yeah, or whatever number. But yeah, I want to be top of my category. Like Love in Dubai needs to have mainstream reach. Our niche, but if that's what you want to achieve, but define what that is and then steer towards that. Like, say no to the distractions.
Of course. I mean, this show is for sure our aim to make it the number one success show of Dubai, because the more story we tell, the more. I mean, I'm an influencer, so I go viral. I paid millions of dollars to be who I am. With paid promotion, I built a huge coaching company. So that's social media. How do you approach social media as a distribution channel? Like, even investment-wise, promotion, is it the main focus for you, the social media, or you, as you said, focus more on partnership? I can go in that platform, so I can get 10x the results faster. Like, the first step for a show or for a media company to grow is still social media, because blogs it's like 10 years ago. Is now first social media virality and then partnership, or how do you see that?
I think most media consumption right now is happening across 5 format types. So vertical video on social, streaming podcasts, streaming services, newsletters. So websites are becoming newsletters and events businesses, and then messaging apps. So we try to be in all these places. Yes, Love in Dubai is a website, but actually we're building a newsletter audience because I can control the traffic and the subscriptions more.
Yeah.
Similarly with the podcast and the streaming service, the Love in TV app just launched on Apple TV this week. We're launching Love in Dubai TV on Samsung TV Plus and LG channels. We have WhatsApp channels on Love in Dubai and all those channels, hundreds of thousands of subscribers. We have vertical video, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, X, reels,
Everywhere.
shorts, vertical video.
Yeah.
But we do carousels, we do other posts, but vertical video is where consumption is.
Yeah.
It's what's sucking up time. Look at Sora's app in the US. Like it's just AI videos. It's just vertical video.
Yeah.
But vertical video as AI. And then I mentioned messaging apps and then streaming services. Streaming services is the hard part. But we lead with content.
Yeah. So first, virality through omnipresence in social media. And then if Loving Dubai today have 100 subscribers on Instagram, would you be able to do the main distribution media? If you were starting today, Loving Dubai, the media channels, would you go straight away to the media distribution or would you dominate social media first?
When we started Loving Dubai, we started with a website and the main distribution channel was Facebook.
Okay.
It depends on where you can get the quick win. I think some of the cities that we launched in, we were able to grow quicker because of TikTok. And in Saudi, we grew quite quickly on Snapchat. But yeah, I think, as a direction, I tell our team to focus on digital, to focus on our own IP and to focus on this region. We restrain ourselves from launching a print offering. People have told me to pick up a radio license that I'll get into cars more, that I'll be able to take on a local channel with the Lovin Dubai brand. It's not our interest. It's not something that we can do in other markets. So I launched 30 podcasts, the Lovin Beirut show, the Lovin Baghdad show, sometimes with AI. And because that's what I think that modern audio is.
With AI?
Yes.
You mean the content is made by AI?
And the voices, yeah.
All right. So it's like a podcast setup with me and you, or is more content generated avatars?
So I think there's some preconceptions because the connotation right now is to describe a podcast about what this is, because people think a podcast needs guests, and we don't. And we've been able to get 2 million monthly downloads without having guests.
It's a modern type of radio, you say.
Yeah. So in the cities that we have more than one journalist, we'll have 2 hosts.
Okay.
And we'll do 20, 30. If you listen to Love in Cairo show, there are no guests. But if you watch Love in Cairo on TikTok or Instagram, we talk about the celebs all the time because we curate their stories and we explain. But we don't need big guests because big guests are already our story.
Yeah, that's interesting.
There's a different, as the medium evolves, there's different ways of doing it. There are famous podcasts like the All In podcast, similar to your name, don't have guests. Sometimes they do, but they have just 3 or 4 people together talking, and that's a format. So that's one thing that we've done. So we've put subject matter experts, people who understand the city. So the Love in Abu Dhabi show is 2 journalists who work for Augustus Media in Abu Dhabi, and they talk about what's happening.
Yeah.
And if there's only one, like Hira, who works for us in Bahrain, talks every day for 10 minutes and then uses AI to create the script and to distribute it.
That's beautiful.
And some cities, they even do the voice with the Hey Jan. So in like Tariq in Amman, he uses a script writer, AI, copy, and then he uses his cloned voice, and then we distribute on Podio. And some of our Smashy Entertainment is a pure AI podcast.
That's wonderful.
And we're building up audience like that. So, I've got 35 brands, 22 sub-Lovins and 13 Smashy verticals. 8 or 10 of them generate, on average $10,000 a month. Some, nearly $500,000. But so what I try and do is, how can I get to 35 brands doing 14 hours a day, 7 days a week, newsletter, podcast, and social, more people and more AI.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, to go in the last part of the podcast, Richard, I think I have 3 last questions. 2 are technical and 1 is my final question I always ask. First one, what is your formula to go viral? Is there a formula still in the market, or what it is for you today? To go viral with a story, with a news?
I think anything can go viral. That's the beauty of it, isn't it? And a lot of it is algorithmic led. Some people can drop a TikTok once a week and go viral. The platforms like TikTok and Snap will tell you to do 40, increase your chances 40 posts a day or whatever. Love in Dubai doesn't necessarily go viral, but we make content go viral by having a publishing schedule. Like every 45 minutes, we pick things up. And then over the course of the month, the Love in Dubai Instagram channel, for example, has on average 120 million impressions. There might be an influencer who has, say, 1.6 million followers on Instagram like we do, but they won't have 120 million impressions over the month. But no one knows that. Now, they might go viral with one clip and get 60 million impressions, but the sum of the parts on our side. So it's this connotation of viral. And then also it's like, what do you do if you go viral? Like, how do you funnel those audiences?
Of course. Do you use AI agent to trigger the comment and create conversations? You don't do that.
No.
Because why?
We don't over automate everything.
Yeah.
I think it's important for our content creators and journalists to read the comments and be responsible.
Yeah, for course.
I don't like outsourcing that to either technology to another team, because they have to learn, they have to see, it goes back to the value of ingenuity. They have to think, they have to be empowered. Right. And I want them to read the comments. I want them to know, to your point, what goes viral, what made this special, what's the talking point. Because if they just post and then turn away, it's like that Homer Simpson thing of setting the plant on fire, walking out the door. No, I want them to be responsible. I want them to see to feel the food.
What the audience like.
Yeah, listen to your customers. Like if you're a chef, to feel the ingredients, to see what they like.
Do you like the plate?
Yeah, do you like it? And then often you'll get the sense of what the next story is. We'll get a temperature of the city. We'll know that rent and prices are important to people. So we'll know to do more and more of those stories, and that helps us go more and more viral. But yeah, like we can automate some things, but also I think customers, I don't mind doing AI to enhance speed, and I don't mind sometimes adding bots and technology and automation, but I don't want to overdo it.
Yeah,
because people it doesn't work. It doesn't. It doesn't.
The people then feels like, is there anyone real behind this company?
Exactly,
that's an issue for
you lose the context. Like you have to have that blend.
Yeah, for sure. So you're a master storyteller, years of experience. What have you seen? Still talking about formula, which we know doesn't exist. This is mostly, massive action and persistence. But if you were teaching the audience how to structure a story effectively when they tell it, what are the pillars you use normally?
It completely depends on the medium and,
Like the success story of the self-made show.
Yeah.
What is the structure of a story that you should have shared to make this show with you? Like, wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
You could do that. I think in a podcast format, the Guy Raz, How I Built This, the narration style of that podcast does it really well. And I think when you go back when you pick on human emotions and when you pick on nostalgia and when you have that story curve of, set the scene, the context, and then the challenges and then the success and the hurdles and all those sort of things. Jeff Bezos, who runs Amazon Engineering, like, when he bought studios, he tried to have a formula to make a hit movie. But there's art and science that goes into something. I don't think there's a pure formula. I think I started off by saying it depends on the medium. I think we have to consider the medium. I think if we're making a movie, or if we're making something that has a format, then you can control more of the
flow, because there is a limited space.
Yeah, like that book Creativity Inc. that Pixar followed. They can have formulas, but for us, for Love in Dubai publishing, we do real-time, non-scripted. But
real. So authenticity is the key.
There is, but also there's the packaging. It's using, some of our journalists come from a text world and they think that Instagram is like the new place to write an article. And I tell them, well, no, like don't give too much text. Yes, use text in a carousel post, but add music, add video, add hook, add images. You know, if there's a footballer in Dubai, don't expect everyone to know who the footballer is. So don't just post the picture of them on the beach with their family or whatever, or in the restaurant or wherever they posted on their own profiles. Post a picture of them in the Bologna jersey or in the Real Madrid jersey as well, to use that IP, to reference that IP of that sort of connotation of here's a global star, and it just does this with the brain, and it catches their attention. That we used to say thumb-stopping moment when we're in the feed.
Yeah.
You know, why would they share? Like, how do you capture their attention? Because that's the hook. That's the equivalent of if I'm walking in a newsagent and there's 5 tabloids to pick from.
Deadline.
Yeah, which one do you take off the desk? Which one do you pay your euro for or whatever?
Yeah,
You pick the one with the strongest headline and the catchy image for the same story. They're all leading with the same story. If Italy qualify for the World Cup or whatever, they're all leading with the same story.
Yeah.
But the one with Gattuso passionate and with a punchy headline, that might take me to pick this one today. And it's the same with social media. Like some people say, like with all the pages now in Dubai, why does Love in Dubai still get stand out and cut through? Because we have a strong brand, but we always look at this visual packaging.
That's wonderful. I mean, Richard, you shared so much value in this podcast. I have to ask you this. So, all inners is a big idea, you know, is the idea that people that succeed are all in what they do. They don't have a plan B. And they're like phoenixes, you see. This is a symbol of the show. The phoenix actually is the top part. And the rest is, you know, the past hurdles and struggles that never really stop the phoenix to rise. What does the word all-inners mean to you and why?
I think it's how you described it so beautifully. I think it is about not having a plan B and risking everything. I wouldn't say I'm a pure all-inner. I like the from nothing to everything in the self-made show. I resonate with that. But no, I would exercise, you know, I like this phrase, fiscally conservative. I'm a conservative entrepreneur. I take risks, but they're calculated. I still see myself as an employee. You know, I think some people I look up to on my goat mountain, on my media wall where I have photos, some of them are big risk takers in media. They make big swings, and it looks like they're massive risk takers, but they do it from a place of comfort. They do it when they reach a certain level, or you've got a little bit of backup. And I think you can take bigger swings when you're bigger, and it can look riskier. But I wouldn't advocate for going all in, because I think it's like investing. Everything compounds. So I think having you can have steady growth over time, rather than risking everything with one swing.
Of course.
I love risk. I like the appetite. I love thinking big. But I think there's ways to get there. So yeah.
No, that's beautiful, because actually an all-inner goes all in when he has the skills and the experience to do that. You catch a great point. There is one final question that you don't know. What is the suggestion you would give to yourself before even starting this journey in Dubai? What is a suggestion you would give that person after 13 years you are in the region? If you let's suppose I am you. I'm a mirror of you in the younger age. What would you tell me not to do and to do quicker?
Yeah. No, I think lives and stories are beautiful. I think, you know, there's a word in Arabic called nasib, which is basically like there's a destiny. Things are written, like things are happening and are in Islam. And, you know, I think there is a time of everything, you know, and I wouldn't necessarily give myself any other advice. Like if I told myself something, you know, cop on, you know, get some sense when I'm 20, I wasn't ready to hear that.
Beautiful.
You know, so it takes a while, and it's the wrong advice. It's like what you talked about earlier, Fabio, about the coaching and the guidance.
Yeah.
Some messages are lost at certain times, so you have to know what to say to the right time. So every year, you know, from the age of 10 to 20, I tell myself something different every year, what I need to know at that year. And even now, I tell myself, hey, Rich, you're a new father. You're in your early 40s. Chill out. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. You have put in 10 years work on this, what you're doing, sustain it, keep growing, and stay fit and healthy. You can be a fit 50-year-old, no pressure. Don't think that you're getting old. Don't think that you're too under pressure right now. So I'm telling myself, my 42-year-old self, a piece of advice that I know I need to hear now.
Beautiful, this.
But then if I get sloppy by the time I'm 46, I'll be telling myself to get together,
Wow, that's wonderful. So you don't give an advice to your younger self, you give an advice to your actual self.
Yeah.
This is brilliant, man.
Yeah, you have to. You have to, because, we can be influenced and we can have negative thoughts all the time, and society can tell us some things, but no, think of yourself in the future. What would you give yourself today? What would 50-year-old Richard tell 40-year-old Richard? And sorry for speaking in third person, but that's the way I think on it as well.
Beautiful. I mean, think from the present onwards, not from the present regretting what you could have done in the past.
Exactly.
Well, this is Richard Fitzgerald, the founder of Augustus Media and of Loving Dubai, Smashy Brands, and much more to come, no, Richard?
Yes.
From nothing to everything, and to everything to impact people and help them to tell their stories, right?
Thank you for being a good host, and good luck with everything you do.
Well, it was amazing. If you like the show, comment, subscribe, and of course, share. Thank you, Richard. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.